The Incarnates was okay. Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Abris was.
Oh wait, Dragonflight only had 3. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Same with Shadowlands. What the heck?
Avarice was okay. Like,
I did not care for that one at all. That's probably my least favorite.
well, for me, they're all okay. None of them really stood out as fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go
Well,
back.
I really like the Razageth fight. I know that's a really unpopular opinion. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good fight, but I also spent a lot of time in that raid, so I'm probably a bit biased.
Well, I like that fight because it really showed who played well and who didn't. You know, number
Yeah.
one, it tested your skills on a few levels.
Mm-hmm.
And that raid, like where you had to get knocked up on the ledges for that one boss, the whirlwind boss.
Yeah.
And I mean, you had to split your raid group.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing out Mythic, there's 3 ledges. We didn't get to that.
I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed leading it. We did I led it on Awakened I did a normal group, and I had a lot of fun doing that. And then I did it when it came out. I think all the way up to Heroic. We attempted it on Mythic, but I wasn't in the group that got the kill, unfortunately, because I had other stuff going on. Yeah, I thought that fight was good. It really, not like I'm better than people, but it really showed it really weeded out the crappy people that weren't paying attention really, really quickly. Even on LFR, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, LFR, thank God it was so forgiving.
Yeah.
You know, just even when people are on their alts were acting stupid. They knew the fight,
The
but
one thing was they either weren't standing in the storm clouds when she does the Tempest Wing or whatever, like where she blows you off, or they weren't going to the platform where they needed to be at. So you'd
yeah,
have too
that
many
was a big
people on
one.
one side, or where they wouldn't separate for the charges.
Well, okay, so the one of the best ways to clear that is for
Mm-hmm.
everybody to be in the same area,
Yeah.
right? They're not overlapping each other with the charge, but they're in the same area so they AoE dispels could go off. And that would take care of it. You know,
Yeah.
almost all of them. And if you had a blood elf, you know, their
They have
whatever
that
it's called,
racial.
their racial would clear them. And then, you know, warriors with their cones, anybody who had stuff like that, you know, if people are close enough, it's so easy. It's when people separate out and some of them go to Narnia, especially people who only have one interrupt. And so then other people have to, you know, another range has to turn, or a melee class even has to go out there. You
Yeah.
know, is ridiculous. And as a BM hunter, I'll tell you this. There were times where it was super close that I couldn't get the my orb. Like I could always get one, but there were times where it was so close, and I was so happy that other people, because I'd always move in. I never stayed out. I always moved in closer because I knew that there was going to be a time I wouldn't be able to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that fight was fun. Trying to think of Aberrus. I really didn't do much Aberrus, to be honest with you. I think season two, I played the least out of all three of them. I'm trying to think what Scale Commander did. Like, I really don't even remember this fight.
Like we did. I
Oh, that's the
know.
one with the void, right? Where you're on that platform and it like sucks you into the void, and then you have to hit those three orbs to get out of it. I think that's the one.
Fixing Streamlabs chat connection keeps your streams
Sarkareth.
engaging and your
There he
viewers
is.
connected, creating a lively and interactive
Trying to
atmosphere.
read the
This is very simple. Here's how you're going to do it.
yeah, emptiness between stars, that ability or that
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
And you had to get your deal, go down, collect your little light ghosty mosties, whatever they were, motes,
yeah,
and then come
and then
back up.
push it back. Yep.
My favorite still to this day is LFR and Tank's not really knowing what to do, and then like
Oh yeah.
phase two where he cleaves,
Mm-hmm.
like turning the boss in circles, killing raid. People
I don't
not
think
knowing.
I don't think I ever ran into that, but I also didn't do that raid enough to know or to see much.
Yeah, let's see what I got.
And then we're going to restart this one. After restarting, I want you to go
To
ahead and open your Streamlabs and then log
Mythic
in.
or Shock.
And yeah, basically that's how you're going to fix Streamlabs connecting to chat.
We killed that and then went
By
to
the way, you
Echoes.
should totally think about
No,
leveling up
where did we
if you're
go?
in-game with Streamlabs
I'm
already.
thinking of different raid now. So I know we killed with Shock. Mythic.
Yeah.
And then
Do
oh, it
I
was
have the
a
mythic
Midricel.
here?
A Midricel. We cleared Naruto, Nagira, Volcross, Council, Nomi. I don't think we might have gotten Lord Art. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's the only Dragonflight raid I have ahead of the curve on.
Like maybe 6. And that definitely we got ahead of the curve on every raid. But I know we 100% never got cutting edge. The guild just couldn't do it. And the only reason why I got more kills on Mythic was because I joined up with Mini Dude's team, who was on a better level than Phil's team, because we had the two
Yeah.
different. In Vault, Mythic 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, Vault, we only got 4 Mythic. On it just gets to a point where the mechanics outdo the DPS involved.
Yeah.
Like you have to get so much DPS before the next mechanic comes out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Aberrus 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, 5. We got 5. Wait, what's Vigilant Steward?
That one I know I did on Heroic. I don't think I ever did it on Mythic. But again, like I never really did that one, so I wasn't really trying. I think I played season 2 for like a week, maybe 2.
I don't know. I want to say. Nope, we didn't get to Vigilant Steward.
Yeah.
So let's just go to our
3,
settings, and let's go
4.
through our settings, and let's see how our settings actually are.
You know, I can find out real quick.
Yeah, that's basically it on our settings.
Yeah, I don't have any clears on Aberrus for Mythic.
Okay, so for Midgersell, we had 5 of 9 mythic. That's how many I got to. And Aberrus, 4 of 9 mythic. So it wasn't like, we were. And then Vault of the Incarnates, 4 out of 8. That was all when us with Phil's team. Vault of the Incarnates was with Phil, and that's where they always got stuck, was at, like the 4th boss
So let's just go to
in
our
any raid
settings.
on Mythic.
Let's go through our settings, and let's see how our settings
Hmm.
actually are. Yeah, that's basically it. On our
Yeah,
settings.
see, I did Aberrus, the Shadow Crucible with Phil.
So let's
So we only got 4 of 9.
OBS, and what you
And
want to do
then
is you want to go over to chat.
a Midgersell is when I went to Minnie's team, and we got 5 of 9.
On here, what you
Okay,
guys can try
yeah.
out is you want to copy this link over here. What you have, just copy that, and now you want to go over to source.
And
Plus icon, and go over
well, at least on my
browser
my Hunter,
over here.
I haven't done
Add
any
source. Just add it.
Narob
And now what you want to do is
Bar Palace.
what you copied over here, you want to paste
I
it.
mean, I don't know if it
So I cannot show
shows any
so
LFR at all
I can
in there.
small
Maybe I
Not
did
sure.
LFR.
URL, but once you enter it, you just want to click on done and see if your chat enables and it actually connects to your chat. So that's also
I still can't believe we went into
this
on this channel, my BM,
just copy that.
went into a 2
You want to go
City of
over
Echoes,
to our Streamlabs OBS, and what you want to do is you want to go over to
and
go to
I
chat
beat
box, which
that
is
614. Yeah,
Item level?
614.3 Devastation.
Huh.
And I was at 607.9, so basically 608.
Wow.
And it wasn't
Okay,
just,
then.
it was like about 200,000 DPS that I beat them by.
Wow. Were they just bad, or is the class garbage?
The class is decent. The class isn't like going to be A or B tier. They're in the middle,
Yeah.
maybe lower middle, but they're not BM. BM is bottom. No matter what you're looking at, single target, multi-target, they're at the bottom. Mythic Plus, they're at the bottom, no matter what you look at. The only people that BM hunters are going to be high are going to be people who are like in the top 10% of all players. Those are going to be the ones that you're going to see as BMs doing good damage because they know the class inside and out.
Yeah. Huh. Wow.
But if you put anybody on any class on the same skill level of player and same eye level, like they don't outrank eye level. I mean, even if they're 5 below a BM, let's just say, they're going to beat BM
Yeah.
because it's just the class is so shit right now. The spec is so bad.
Have they said they're gonna buff it at any point, or?
So apparently on Tuesday's reset, they buffed the AoE and
not single target.
they nerfed single target.
Why?
Okay, so that's the only thing BMs were good at. So in raid, because most of it's single target, they were shining, right? They were doing really well in raid.
Yeah.
But if you look at them outside of raid in Mythic Plus, they're shit. And if any
Okay.
multi-target in raid, if it's a multi-target fight in raid, they were crap.
Yeah.
You know, not the worst of the worst, but they weren't good. And so there's no reason for that nerf on single target. And that's noticeable. It doesn't cut us down to like half or anything like that, but it's noticeable. And the buff that they gave us on AoE, can't tell. You can't see it. Like it doesn't matter. It's just really not there. So it makes no sense. And then
That's,
when the 20th anniversary stuff comes out, there's going to be another round of buffs and nerfs. And, you know, to most specs, classes, that kind of stuff. And it's already looking like they're going to nerf Dark Ranger, which is right now the hero talent build that is doing better damage. You know,
when
so
is the 20th anniversary stuff coming out? Have they said that
Well-
yet or no?
hang on.
All right.
Always the first week in November.
Okay.
Because it lasts all month.
It lasts for a month.
I thought
Yeah.
they're doing it longer this time. I thought they said they're going to do it like a couple months.
Who knows?
It might last longer, but I know factually it'll be a month. You know, like that's the information that I have last gotten. But also, paladins are gods again. Rhett got a bunch of buffs.
In this video, I'm gonna shoot.
It's just crazy all the stuff that they got, which makes no sense because they're already good. Like not top, but they were still good from Dragonflight. It wasn't
Mhm.
like they lost and went back down to the middle of the pack. They didn't. And Frost is still top. Along Arcane Mage got a little bit of a nerf. Fire Mage got some buffs.
Ooh.
Ice Frost got some buff. So like Frost should be Fire should be a little more competitive.
Yeah.
You know, the players, the people who know Fire are going to do good anyway. But they buffed up Warlock Demonology. And I mean, Warlock anyway is like one of the favorite children of Blizzard.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a spec of them that's just doing incredible damage. And well, since TWW came out, Shadow Priests have been crap. They still can do good damage, you know. The longer the fight, the better they are.
Yeah, Shadow Priest just seems like they've been getting shafted since season 2 of Dragonflight.
Yeah. I mean, there are still those players, again, like I said, you know, that are
Yeah.
top 10%, that kind of stuff, that just deal incredible damage, you know. You know, and the groups that pull, you know, they're doing the higher keys and all that, they pull bigger. So that really makes them look good.
Yeah.
But that also makes Fire Mage look good.
True.
The longer stuff stays alive, the more damage they do. You know, like in Dragonflight, BMs would open up, do a whole bunch of damage, and then steady out. Pretty much, they were just steady DPS, and that's what made them so good. Is you could always count on X amount of damage.
Mhm.
Through the whole dungeon. There was really no up and really no down with them. You could run around doing everything. So
Yeah.
mechanics really didn't matter except for like big AOE stuff because the defensives weren't good.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, so Frost decays and Unholy decays in the beginning of this expansion were crazy good. S tier.
Yeah.
For some reason, they nerfed Unholy a bit. So they're still really good, but Frost Decay is basically if you put the same skill level Frost against an Unholy, Frost Decay is gonna smash them. They're good single target. They're good AOE as well, multi-target.
I really enjoyed playing Frost DK back in the day. I don't enjoy it now. I feel like it's just changed too much from what it was originally.
I
But
think
yeah,
they put some things out of control, like where it just automatically does it for you, so you don't get a control when it goes off.
that's what I liked about the old way you play it. I like popping pestilence, keeping my diseases up and all that stuff.
Oh, like Unholy?
No, on Frost.
Yeah, they get that limited stuff, dot kind of stuff where, like Unholy just puts out a shit ton of those things. And the longer the fight goes on, the better they look too. Or the more AoE they get, the more mobs. Holy fuck. The Frost is like that too.
Yeah.
There was a guy that
Get
went
like
in with,
Howling Blast and all that stuff.
yeah. Glacial Advance is just part of the build now. You don't have to do anything.
What is that, Glacial Advance?
It
I don't
it's
remember that being a thing back then.
it's a straight off like basically it's kind of like an AoE, but you know, like the dragon breath thing that they could shoot out that goes like straight.
Yeah.
It's the same type deal. Obviously it's less damage, but it comes out more frequently because I think it's more like a proc base or ability base, not like you don't have to press the button to send it out. So the only things you really have to do are the dragon breath thing, whatever that is. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Here's your 2 cooldowns, which one of them comes back in a minute, and the other one's like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And then you also get slappy hands. And they're highly DKs basically are highly sought after because they can res. They got anti-magic stuff, the shields and all that bubble. And then they got the grips. So, a mob is out casting. They can just pull them in. So the AoE can hit them. They've got 2 of those, 2 death grips. So,
I
the
didn't know they
res.
upped it to 2. That's actually really nice.
Yeah. So they're sought after, just like, paladins are.
A lot of utility to them.
Yeah. And even like evokers classes are sought after as well for that kind of stuff. Og is not as strong as it used to be, but it's still strong. Most of the meta groups aren't using Ogs anymore, though. Like you just don't need them because you've got such strong classes now that you don't need that boost.
Yeah, I don't really know how to play Death Knight anymore. I know like the old way to do it. I haven't really I tried playing it in Dragonflight a little bit, but I just couldn't stick with it. It seemed like it was a bit too different than what I remembered, and I didn't really enjoy it all that much, so I just switched back over to what I was playing before. But yeah, Death Knight was really fun. I really enjoyed how that class used to play. Maybe I need to give it another try now with all the modern stuff.
So I'm gonna leave party and get real quick on my DK. I think my DK is only like 75, 76 or something like that.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna check mine out
76.
too.
My DK's name is Caustic Trash. I actually enjoy playing my DK, but there are. It's like I still have Glacial Advance on my bar, like on my bars. But let's take a look through my spell book. There's no Glacial Advance in my spell book. It doesn't even need to be on my bar.
Nice.
It's part of the shit now. It's just, it happens. It's like in the talent build kind of a thing. And if it's not in the talent build, then they just added it, to the baseline stuff.
Yeah.
But you don't really control that. It does it on its own. Like I know when I hit, what is it? I think it's Pillar of Frost. One of the two, Pillar of Frost or Empower Rune. I think it's Pillar of Frost, though. It sends it out immediately. They did make Breath of Sargosa, whatever. They made that. Yeah, they made that more powerful. So now it is as good or maybe a little bit better than Obliterate. Obliterate's still easier to play. Because you don't have to worry about keeping up breath.
Yeah. So diseases are popped automatically, right? You don't have to do that yourself anymore?
I'm looking.
Because it used to be Pestilence, and then they
So-
switched it to something else in Cataclysm.
Soul Reaper. Strikes an enemy for 17,000 damage. Shadow Frost. Damage and afflicts the enemy with Soul Reaper. After 5 seconds, if the target is below 35% health, this effect will explode, dealing an additional 78,000, basically 79,000 damage to the enemy that yields experience or honor. While afflicted by Soul Reaper, gain Runic Corruption. So I don't know what that is. I'd have to look at it.
I don't know. I've never heard that before. I'm gonna check out my my DK on Kata real quick. Did you play Demon or Death Knight back when they came out?
Yes.
Okay. So you know how busted they were.
Yeah, I played Unholy. And
okay.
So in Raid, I was the guy. I was that person who built a macro from opener. It had 10 abilities macroed.
Oh my god.
To this one macro.
You're that guy.
Nobody could beat me. After that, I had a macro that would go through a few other abilities that were meant, like keeping up dots kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So there were 2 separate macros. They weren't the same. And very rarely did somebody ever beat me on a boss or on trash. Because I'd hit that macro, the opener, and it would just go.
That's great.
It was crazy. Yeah, and they were totally busted. Yeah, so the build I'm using is just straight off of Wowhead. I chose Rider of the Apocalypse. I just
I haven't
like
got
the
that far yet.
I like the I think it's more like the concept of it
Yeah.
that I like most. I like seeing the guys on the death chargers come up. They come out and help you, like, kill stuff, and I've
Oh,
got it
yeah.
set up as well that they take when I take damage, 5% of the damage is redirected to each active horseman.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I've seen where there's 3 of them up. It gets a little crowded,
Yeah, I can imagine.
but their
Uh,
defensives. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. So it used to be pestilence how you pop disease, and then cataclysm they changed it so outbreak uh was applying blood plague and frost fever,
Yeah, I remember Outbreak.
and now it's gone. I guess I don't. Like I said, I think it's just automatic now or
Yeah, it's not
something.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that I have to press that would do anything worthy of that kind of thing is Soul Reaper.
So what is it now? A talent or
It's like baked into the
okay?
abilities. So talents that you pick and stuff like that, you
Oh,
know.
okay, I see. Okay,
Like on this, I only have one macro,
yeah.
and that macro basically just pops Empower Rune and Pillar of Frost. Oh, Pillar of Frost is 45 seconds. So with those macroed, even though Empower Rune won't be back up, I just keep, like, I can just hit the same macro. You know, so Pillar of Frost to go off.
Yeah, here it's only 20 in Kata for pillar,
Yeah,
so they
yeah. So
buffed that. Uh,
I mean,
Trying to
yeah, I
see.
have
Yeah.
2 charges of Death Grip, and there's only 25-second recharge on it. And of course, you've got Mind Freeze, and then you got the Blinding Sleet, which is a cone of stun, disorient. It's disorient.
Yeah.
But
Can you still sacrifice a ghoul for health? Is that still a thing or no?
you sacrifice your gold to deal 19,000 shadow damage to all nearby enemies and heal for 25% of your maximum health. It deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. So yeah.
With right?
However, that's a 2-minute cooldown, and that goes along with the where is my raise goal? Yeah, it's a 2-minute cooldown for raise dead, which is your goal.
Okay, and then you sack it. You still use Death Pact, right? To sack it? Or is that
Sacrificial
different now
pact.
too?
It's just called sacrificial pact.
Okay. So that's different too then.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's really changed, I guess.
yeah. I mean, you still have like death and decay.
Yep, I got that.
And the nice thing is while you're like, if you're playing obliterate, while you're standing within it, your obliterate will hit up to 2 additional targets. And that has 2 charges.
That I do know. I don't have that here. Obliterate is needs 1 frost rune and 1 unholy rune to be able to use it.
Yeah. And then now in retail, it's all the same room. You don't worry about frost or whatever.
Yeah, that really tripped me up because when I first started playing the DK over there, because I mean, I even have an ability called Blood Tap, which you probably remember, which converts a death rune into an, whatever. If you run out of runes, so it converts it into something else, and then you
There's
got
something else.
Empower rune, huh?
I'm trying to think if there is something else that'll give.
You still have Empower, right?
Uh,
Empower rune weapon which
Yes.
activates your runes. Okay. Let's see. I mean, there's Horn of Winter. I'm assuming that's still around.
You can talent into it.
Okay.
People aren't.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know about the average player like who's using a Wowhead isn't talenting into it unless maybe it works in raid single target.
Mm.
But yeah, you can get it, and yeah, it still does the tune ruins and generates 25 runic power. See, for me though, I never run out of. It doesn't seem like I've run out of runic power. Not runic power, but the runes. It's just it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they changed a lot. I mean, even Warrior, like I play an Arms Warrior in Classic, and I'm always out of rage. Whereas, like, when I'm playing my Fury, I guess I get it's like two different specs, but when I'm playing like my Fury Warrior on retail, I'm like, flying through my rotation. Whereas on Classic, there's a lot of downtime where I'm just
Yeah.
auto attacking.
Okay, this is what's I was talking about with Pillar of Frost, like sending out like what it looks like glacial advance. Uh, it's actually called Frostwhelp's Aid. It's a passive. So when Pillar of Frost summons a Frostwhelp, or excuse me, Pillar of Frost summons a Frostwhelp who breathes on all enemies within 40 yards in front of you for 16,109 frost damage. Each unique enemy hit by the Frostwhelp's aid grants you 8% mastery for 15 seconds up to 40%. So I mean, that's a pretty big little deal for you. And there are things like, so normally, like say Pillar of Frost is a minute cooldown.
Mhm.
There's a talent that I took that reduces that cooldown by 15 seconds, and that's why mine's 45 seconds. So I mean, they just made so many things easier.
Yeah.
Like they baked it into the talents to make things easier.
I get it's like better. Like for people, it's like easier to understand. Because I remember one of the reasons why I didn't pick Unholy was because of how difficult people said it was. Because you have to, at least back in when they came out. So I didn't pick that. I just went with Frost. But
So now,
I guess now it's easier. Same with
yeah,
Arcane Mage.
yeah, they've lowered the intellect level, let me put it that way, of
Yeah.
Unholy. You don't have to keep track really of your dots. I mean, you do because you have to keep them up, but it's no longer a hassle. If I got to do this dot, then this dot, then this dot. They're all basically together.
Yeah.
But I've played on this tune. I've switched back and forth, like in Dragonflight, because I maxed it out at 70, and I would switch back and forth between the two, and it just seemed like for what I was doing in game, playing Unholy wasn't worth it. I wasn't going through doing mythics and stuff like that. So, single target out in the world doing stuff, it was so much easier just to play Frost.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But I kind of am interested to get this guy to 80 and see, like, in delves and stuff like that, what they can do. 'Cause I'm imagining it's pretty strong.
Yeah. I really like Death Knight. If they didn't change it, whenever they changed it, because I like missed all those expansions, so I don't know when they really changed how it plays like that with Pestilence and all that stuff, I probably would still be playing it today. It's just such a fun class. It's so versatile.
Yeah, it makes me wish. Okay, so in Dragonflight, they weren't good. Unholy was much better
Yeah.
than Frost.
Yeah, Frost was like D tier for a while, I think, if I remember correctly.
Right, until they did the rework on them.
Yeah.
And they've even nerfed Frost, and they're still one of the top tier.
Wow.
Yeah, they were crushing it, and so was Unholy. They were both just crushing it, and then they did the nerfs, and unfortunately for Unholy, it hurt them more.
Yeah. Maybe I need to give it another shot.
It did make me want to play. But okay, so kind of what I was saying before was, I wish instead of deciding I wanted to play my Fairy Warrior as my main, I wish I would have decided to play my DK as Frost as my main.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a little bit more responsibility because playing a warrior, Fairy Warrior, you're not going to have to raise dead on anybody. The best thing that you can really do, you have your buff in the beginning, and then you have Rally and Cry.
Yeah.
Those are the only things you can do for your party, because no Fury Warrior is taking Intervene. It's just not what they take.
No.
And yes, you have a cone stun, and then you have the regular stun. That's it. Everything else is out of your control. And so if people take you anywhere, it's because of your burst damage.
Yeah.
I can go in on, like right now I've only done a Mythic +2, actually, completed and that kind of stuff. And I can go in and open up and do 3 million damage. And if the things die like right away, I'm going to end at like 2.5 million, which people are like, oh my God, you're so good. And whatever. It's like, you should see what happens on a long-term fight. It's not like that. And then in raids, they're okay. They're okay in raids single target. They're not great though. You also don't have to switch. There's no real single target talent tree. There just isn't. And so you don't have to switch. But they're not doing the same type of damage as like a Warlock, a DKs. No one else, mages. They're not doing that kind of damage. But they're also not, they're more towards upper middle.
Isn't Arms doing pretty well? I thought I saw a chart the other day that said Arms was like A tier.
Nope. They're not A tier. They're also not beating Fury.
On single?
Well, not until they might start beating them on the last, 25, 30%, like when they start being able to get their executes.
Yeah, because they live it out towards the end once execute, because that's your big spender towards the end.
Yeah, so like on Fury, execute doesn't cost anything, but there's a cooldown on it.
Yeah.
But you can get a proc that'll give you an extra, at any point in the fight, you can get an extra execute. But it doesn't hit as hard as Arms. And Arms, they just have to keep their Fury up, and they can just spam it. That's why you'll see Arms like jump away and then run back in, charge back in. They'll get their Fury back up, and they're just slamming that button. Of course they have to keep up like Mortal Strike or whatever it is, but yeah, they took a nerf as well in their hero talent trees. So they might start doing better in the Fury because Fury took another nerf again.
Of course.
But I mean, that was at the same time Arms did. It was like both of them took nerfs because I don't know. They thought Fury was doing too much, and they shouldn't have nerfed Arms because Arms wasn't like when I first saw tier lists. Fury was B, and Arms was like C. Like if you just went A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
Fury. Well, I'm sorry, S, A, B, C, D. Fury was in B tier, and Arms was in C tier. Like they weren't that far apart, but still Fury was doing better. So I don't understand why Arms even got a nerf. It makes no sense.
I'm not
And
sure.
it was just in their, I think it's their hero talent tree. This is where they got that nerf. I think it was Colossal Blow or some shit like that. That's a guess.
Yeah.
But that's sad. Let's see. Windwalker Monk, they actually got a weird buff. I don't know if it's just healer, but where there's a Rising Sun kick. At least for healers, I know. I'm not sure on regular like Windwalker, but the Rising Sun kick, which was a single target talent,
Yeah.
it's a single target, maybe not a talent, but ability, and now it's multi-target. So that's just extra damage. I still haven't seen I haven't been in a group with a Windwalker, so I don't really know like how well they're doing. On the last tier list I looked at, they're in the middle of the pack, but that may have changed because I haven't looked at anything lately. And again, that stuff is based off of raid, pretty much. It's not based off of world content. And there is another tier list for Mythic Plus as well. And even in that, BM's not doing well. I would go back to BM in a heartbeat if they weren't so trash. People will pick a class and they just stick with it no matter what.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do.
It's one thing if that class is always like middle of the pack kind of a deal. Somewhere around there. But it's a whole nother thing when you take a class that was upper middle of the pack, but you never saw in high keys because of how much damage they couldn't handle the damage. Very rarely, let's put it that way, would you see a BM hunter in, let's say, anything above a 26. You just didn't really see it. That was in season 2 or 3 of Dragonflight. I think 3. And because I was doing 22s, 23s on my BM in season 3. But when you take a class that was doing that kind of stuff and you make it so in comparison to every other, not just class, I want to say spec, you make it so every other is just looks like Superman in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work. Like, I don't know how often I get invited to groups and things like that. I mean, I know in world content and even in Delves, at 607, I can do 8s. I was doing it like at 605, 604, I was doing 8s. But that's reliant on the pets solely. If you don't have those pets, that's all the damage anyway comes from your pets. But
yeah,
I can't say it enough. BM just got trashed.
I hate when they do that. I remember I think it was season 2, I saw how great Shadow Priest was doing
Mm-hmm.
in keys, because everyone was like raving about it, and then I started leveling one up, and like as I got to like level 65 or something, they completely like trashed them.
Yep.
And then I was like, I don't really have any attachment to this tune. You know, I just leveled it up to see how good it was, and now they trashed it. I'm not gonna bother. Like, I really hate when they do stuff like that.
Yeah. It takes the fun out of what you're doing.
Especially like there was a streamer I watch like here and there, and she does like really, really high keys.
Queen XT.
No, her name is like Krista or something.
Okay.
And she plays a Shadow Priest, and she really knows the class. You know, she's like really, really good. And she was like devastated when they killed that off. Like when they like dropped it that low on the tier list. She was so mad.
You know it's bad. You know, I'm not talking about Shadow Priest, but you know it's bad when Feral is beating you in every aspect of the game.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Rogues are still doing pretty well. Outlaw started like really seeming they're going to do pretty well as well as Assassination.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are doing as well anymore as what they were doing in the beginning. Now they're buffing Outlaw, but it's not enough to make them strong again. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still good. The class is still good. But they took away a lot of what they could do. And that's how many rogues do you see out there anyway?
I don't see that many.
No. I mean, obviously people still play them, but there just isn't that as many as what I used to see. I used to play rogue. Not since I came back in BFA. I mean, I leveled my rogue. But yeah, it's not a class that I played in Kyiv.
Yeah.
They changed Outlaw way too much. You know, like how you're talking about DKs? Outlaw got changed so much from when I used to play it. I'm just like, what the fuck? Because you got to keep track of so many things. Roll the bones. There's the other, you know, like what buff do I have? Do I need to roll again? There's like 3 things that you have to be paying attention to at all times. And so Outlaw, they made it more complex. You might as well play Sub or Assassination. You might as well. Because in AoE instances, Sub crushes Outlaw. And it used to be the
really
opposite.
played rogue much.
Yeah. I mean, these are just things that I've seen in videos and watching the guys that are doing the tier lists and stuff, you know. But I haven't seen a tier list video in a couple of weeks, so I don't know how much that's changed. You know, I do keep up with the nerfs and buffs that come in. I'm sure that there are reworks coming in down the line, and like Demon Hunters, for instance, when they first came into Shadowlands, they were B tier.
Played mine during Shadowlands.
Or not well, in Shadowlands, I'm sorry. In Shadowlands, they nerfed the shit out of their AoE, and that's pretty much what they were. And so they took it so like everything that they did, they could only hit 5 targets. Everything else beyond 5 targets was less damage. They took less
I
damage.
remember that.
Diminished. Your I beam hit the first target at full power. Every target that was in line after that, less and less and less damage.
Which is like the whole point of playing the. I mean, that's like their signature
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah, why would you want to play that class? You know, I played through Shadowlands with it. And Dragonflight, they got much better. And then when War Within came out, they just didn't look good. They didn't look like bad, but they weren't looking good. And then the whole Aldraki Reaver side of the hero talent tree was doing better, it looked like, than Felscar and everything. But to play the Reaver part of it, it was like complex to play it. So the average player would have just, you know, they would just do a lot less damage. So everybody started, well, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of players started playing Felscar because it's less brain width, you know.
Yeah.
And now if you look at logs, like raid logs and stuff, all the top players are Felscar. There's like Jeddah, he's a Havoc Demon Hunter. He's like, I had to go back 25 pages to see one raider playing Aldraki Reaver.
Yeah.
You know, when you go down the list, he's like, there's just one. So that's how bad that side of the hero talent tree is, and it's supposed to be better, and it's just not. And then they just buffed it, and it's still bad. You know, it doesn't. It on paper it looks like it should do 2 to 3% better than Felscar, but it doesn't. Like ultimately, it just does not. So that's another class that, or spec, that they kind of fucked over. And when they say they buffed it, or at least one of the hero talent trees, it was give and take and nothing. You know, ultimately it was nothing. You know, they're
That
like,
sucks.
we're buffing this ability by 100%. But when you look at the ability on the Sims, let's just say on the Sims, it was doing 2.4% with the buff. But then you look in the raid, the actual player that's playing that after the buff, it's doing 0.3% in reality, because you're not a robot. So it's really not, it's not a buff, you know, kind of a thing. And that's what they're doing with so many of the classes. I mean, some of them are getting huge buffs, but Paladin, like I said, they went back to being super powered. I don't get it. They were still really, really good when they came into the War Within. They were still really good. And now with good classes, they're so competitive with like S tier. If they're not S tier, like I used to be able to keep up on my Fairy Warrior with Rhett. I don't think I beat him. That's why I'm saying keep up. So now I can't. I'm not really, like, if I'm 100,000 DPS below them and they're the same eye level or a few eye levels below me, that's shit.
Yeah.
You know? And that was before the buffs. And so now with the buffs that they got on Tuesday, I know they're going to be beating me by like 200K. I mean, close to that. So it's just, Blizzard's weird. I don't understand it. I know it's difficult. it would be difficult anyway to